culture he introduced. First thing he did, change the course syllabus, introduced quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics was highly there. That actually helped the remaining people to follow him. The course easy. And it helped us to cope up with the development of physics and the career. So this new culture he produced, and again the American culture he brought, he liberally given mark. Previously 60 was the highest mark, although high total mark is 100, people will give at best 60. Those things he changed, and that was very refreshing and helped us to make our career, which are always worried that career will be spoiled. So it's totally new culture he introduced, and that is very much rapid process. Now, with this introduction, I now start the evaluation session. First, I request Professor Vikas Sinha to say a few words.
Respected Professor Felicitation Pradhan, Srimati Pradhan, Professor Panda, Professor Satpathy, so many of my very distinguished friends and colleagues from all over the world. When I heard that Professor Pradhan is going to be 90, I couldn't believe my ears, because I thought, and I have been thinking still now, he is an ever young man. So my starting point is Professor Felicitation Pradhan, young man of 90. The product of the legendary giants in physics like Maurice Bourdieu, Enrico Fermi, Subramanian Chandrasekhar. To me, Professor Felicitation Pradhan is a Renaissance man. From the impulse approximation in atomic collisions, Landau damping in plasma oscillations in the uniform magnetic field, quantum field theory, Professor Pradhan's range of interest has been wide, varied, and unusual. Unique. His abiding interest in plasma physics and electron gas continued for quite some time. As I understand, his last paper on atomic collisions was published as late as early as 1994. I recall meeting him when this Institute of Physics was in its infancy at A105 Sahit Nagar, soon after I came back to India around 1976. Sahit Nagar campus to me was a heroic effort. I recall distinctly there was only one small mirror to help yourself with anything that you wish to do with the mirror in that rented house. While trying to negotiate my breakfast, I met a familiar named man who used to work for Shah Institute for odd jobs. He smiled at my discomfort and suggested that I use or eat jhalmuri for breakfast. Professor Pradhan very kindly asked me later in the day how was my breakfast. I said it was very jhal. Professor Pradhan, as you all know, was the head of the theoretical physics division of Saha Institute of Nuclear Physics, and the institute had a lot to do for a number of years. But to me, it intrigues me, having been in science for so long, how did it manage to diagonalize Haridas Banerjee, Binoy Dr. Rai, Shuprakash Mukherjee and Manoj Pal at same go? And that is a clear indication of his strength of his personality and originality in physics. He likes to take on an adventure, and I'm sure it was an adventure at Saha Institute. As was mentioned by Lokhitan Satpathy, it all starts from Raffenshaw College. I like to compare Raffenshaw College with the old Presidency College in Calcutta. The best of best in all walks of life, not just physics. In literature, politics, social sciences, economics, Raffenshaw College is, of course, the springboard. And I have a feeling the germ of IOP idea originated from there when these people I mentioned, Professor Pradhan in particular, studied. In 1974, Professor Pradhan came away from Saha Institute and back to Orissa as the founder director with the patronage of the education minister, Mr. Bonomali Patnaik, a great visionary, and the great patronage of famous D.S. Kothari. It was unique and quite remarkable that a state government took the initiative of creating a purely research institute in this province. I don't think it's possible today. I believe at that time politics did not enter anywhere near this. And the spirit of nation building was very much in their minds, like Meghnad Saha Institute of Physics in Calcutta and Homi Jehangir Bhabha's Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. I recall an incident in Homi Bhabha Auditorium in Bombay at that time, not Mumbai. Professor Pradhan was the president of Indian Physics Association, and I was the acting general secretary. And we were felicitating no less a person but his original teacher, Subramaniam Chandrasekhar, by the Nobel laureate. Around 1975 or so, I don't remember. But that particular evening is still very fresh and vivid in my mind. Looking back in life, I also wonder, how did Professor Pradhan manage to work along with someone as aloof, of course brilliant, like Subramaniam Chandrasekhar? It's a fantastic feat. I tell you a small story, risking my life almost. I had the odious responsibility of going to Professor Chandrasekhar to ask him to come down for a drink before a dinner that the Birlas actually organized in Taj. So he said, I don't talk to anyone before dinner. I said, that's a funny man, maybe a great man, but funny. I said, sir, some of the relations have come from Chembur area. I don't want to talk to any relation of mine. That's extraordinary Brahminic gesture, I thought. And I told Professor Pradhan and Professor Menon was also there. They were not surprised. What surprised me today, how did he get along with a man so very aloof and so very brilliant? Only Professor Pradhan can do that. But there was at that time a tremendous legacy still lingering in these great institutions. Whether it's TIFR, Saha Institute, Institute of Physics in its infancy. And when I first came to this building, I didn't tell anyone, but I was so surprised that Srimati Indira Gandhi, then the Prime Minister, came to inaugurate this building. I'm sure she was aware of this petition. I must recall to you all an incident which I heard from Professor B.A. Bhubaneswar of TIFR. He visited this institute basically with the task of making it an autonomous institution of Department of Atomic Energy. And Professor Bhubaneswar had difficulty in getting a ticket back to wherever he was going. And Professor Pradhan was in no mood to compromise. He gave absolute hell to the airport guy. Do you know who this man is? Etc., etc., etc. Professor Bhubaneswar told him the story in great detail, and I was deeply impressed by his choice of who the important people are, not the netas, not the singer, not the bachelor and so on. In 1985, Department of Atomic Energy took over, and the rest of the history is even known to the younger people. And during P.S. Ramurthy's time, 3 million volt tandem penetrop came. I won't take much of this time. As a human being, I found all these years, Professor Pradhan is a man of overwhelming charm and humor. He's older than me by almost 20 years. Yet I never felt that he's a very different person from our generation. A quality which is very rare in our country. He takes on young and old at the same breath. 1989 to 1991, he was also the Vice Chancellor of School University, which is also a great university. Wrote a lot of books, and current trends of physics, nuclear physics, has been published and well known, and this particular series, high energy physics. His 2 books, the photons and quantum mechanics, is well known. I'll finish now for 2 again incidents. Today is the day of incidents, not too much detail of quantum physics. We were coming back from Konark. Mr. Pradhan was there, Virendra Singh was there, and I was the youngest of the lot. And there was a very provocative, handsome sculpture of Muni Vishwanath. Professor Pradhan grabbed me by the arm and asked, "Are you impressed?" Of course I was very impressed, but it was of such a provocative nature that I was very impressed with Professor Pradhan's comment. While coming back, there was a cat which was crossing the road and the car stopped. I said, why? Because the thing is that if the cat crosses bad omen, the car has to stop. The cat has the priority to cross the road and the car has to stop. I had learned something. One point, one person I have to remember today is of course Dr. Rajaramana. You probably don't know, I noticed that myself, I was very young at that time. These 2 gentlemen were very close to each other. Professor Pradhan and Dr. Rajaramana. And that was a very intimate relationship. And that helped in building the institution in the early parts of its history. And Dr. Ramana to me, one of the mentor, used to say very nice things about the institute and how Professor Pradhan actually steered it through bad days financially at the beginning. Professor Pradhan, with your permission, I'll finish whatever I have to say by 2 poems by the great American poet Robert Frost. One is The Road Not Taken, and that's him, I think. I should be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, 2 roads diverged in the wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. And the final poem, which is very appropriate, probably some of you know very well by heart. The woods are lovely, dark and deep. but have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Mr. Pradhan, you have miles to go. Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure and a privilege for me to come down here to hear all of you. God bless you. All of you will get which I picked up on the road, not very good, but it's a gesture of all the matter. So,
Thank you, Professor Sinha. Next, Dr. Susanto Dotto, please.
Steps, careful. Slow down, it's slow.
I'm deeply grateful to Professor Pankaj Agrawal and to Ajit Srivastava and others of the organizing committee for inviting me and for giving me an opportunity to celebrate with you a remarkably illustrious and long journey of a very special person, Professor Felicitation Pradhan, whom I hold in high esteem. Having said that, I'm actually an odd man out in this list of speakers, as I was neither a student nor a colleague of the various institutions that Professor Pradhan served in his career. Ravenshaw College, now a university, the Saha Institute of Nuclear Physics, Institute of Physics, and Vani Vihar, Utkal University. Yet by some curious turns of events, I came close to him, which I will touch upon briefly in this presentation. While remembering the life of a person on this momentous occasion, it is inevitable that reflection of my own life would be discerned, and hence I hope you will pardon me if the anecdotes become an admixture of professional and personal narratives. I got to know Professor Pradhan when, as a young lecturer in Presidency College in the year of 1968, I used to attend post-MSc classes in the Saha Institute. What impressed me was his emphasis on basic stuff, what we loosely call fundas. Mind you, Saha Institute, because already mentioned, had a galaxy of excellent theoretical physicists at that time in Manoj Pal, Vikas Banerjee, Vinay Daptarai, S.C.K. Nair, Suprakash Mukherjee. In addition to Pradhan, Manoj Banerjee and Tarapata Das had just left. By Delhi University, I know of no other institute or university in the country with such a strong presence of theoretical physics. However, it was Pradhan who had the most creative research mind with a very broad outlook. That impacted on me, and I decided to chart out a different area than the ones prevalent in Saha Institute of Physics, namely application of statistical and quantum physics to the condensed phase of matter, in which Pradhan evinced keen interest later on. This brings me to mention the first attribute of his that I found appealing: versatility in physics. To underscore this point, I remind you, because mentioned again already, that Pradhan's first three sins